in the early 2000s, a gentleman by the name of Noah Glass had a brilliant idea. The idea was to call into a phone number, and by calling into this number, leave a message, and the message will be turned into an MP3, and the MP3 will be actually hosted on the internet. And this was actually a brilliant idea at the time. Very quickly, the idea grew to actually become this company that came to be known as Odeo, Odeo, a company that was supposed to be specialized in actually becoming a platform for all the type of podcasts that people could actually come up with. So you had an idea for a podcast. The place to go back in the days was actually a place called Odeo. Brilliant idea, my friend. Brilliant. But as fate will have it, by 2006, a gentleman by the name of Steve Jobs decided to actually come up with a better idea, to actually turn his platform, the iTunes, into a place where people could actually have an opportunity to actually have the podcast also hosted. By that time, Mr. Glass, Noah Glass, and his partners said to themselves, you know what, things are not as rosy as we thought. We have to come up with a plan B, because otherwise, with the Steve Jobs and his idea to actually now invade this territory of actually going into the podcast business, we are going to actually be extinct, and we have to find a way to pivot and become something else very quickly. Otherwise, we are going to face a very certain extinction. So this is when they started brainstorming ideas within the company Odeo to try to figure out what was the next best idea that they could come up with that would allow for them to actually not only just stay afloat, but reinvent themselves and remain as relevant as possible. One idea led to another until one of the employees working for Odeo by the name of Jack Dorsey said, you know what, let's just figure out what we can do. And I believe as we try and figure out what we can do, why don't you use one of my old ideas, which is basically to actually come up with the idea to actually focus on status update. How can I actually share with the rest of the world what I'm thinking in a moment? And one thing led to another, and that's how very quickly the company Odeo went from being Odeo to actually reinventing himself and becoming the company that is now known as Twitter. My friend, today is a very important day. Today is a day I would like to actually discuss with you the importance of pivoting in this season, all right? So grab yourself some comfort food, a notepad, pen or paper, sit back and relax, because I'm about to drop something that you do not want to miss, all right? Stay tuned. Welcome to Mountain of Inspiration. My name is Dimitri. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. As I was saying, when in 2005, Mr. Glasshouse and the CEO of the company realized that for some reason, Steve Jobs was now actually stepping into the territory of actually putting together a podcast or making sure there will be a platform for all the podcasters at the time. They said to themselves, it is time for us to reinvent ourselves and come up with better ideas. Otherwise, we're going to actually face a certain extinction. So what did they do? They started turning to an employees working for them at the company called Odeo until they come with this brilliant idea of actually focusing now on just sharing the status of all the people on the web, on the web who want to actually share with the world what they were thinking at the time. At the time, the platform only about 5,000 people using the platform. But they said to themselves, we're going to actually switch from actually just being Odeo to a different company. And one thing led to another. They decided to reinvent themselves and call themselves Twitter, and the rest is history. But someone may say to me, you know what, Dimitri, this is business. What I'm facing right now has nothing to do with business. It's personal. How can I reinvent myself in this season? And as a matter of fact, Steve Jobs and Mr. Glass and Noah Glass, it was a totally different story. This was basically a business move and business battle between two giants. This has nothing to do with me. My friend, I have a perfect story for you, please. January 17, 1942, somewhere in Louisville was born a young man by the name of Cassius Marcellus Clay. This young man was actually born, he was actually basically minding his own business from age 0 to age 20. He was just being a typical young boy, just minding his own business. Then on his fateful day, somewhere in 1954, he found himself at the home show in his hometown, and he brought to this home show is a brand new bicycle, a red bicycle, I believe by the name of Red Sherwin, a brand new red bicycle. So he parked his bicycle outside this place, and he went inside doing some funny business with his friend, just having fun. And when he comes out, he realizes that someone had stolen his bike. So Cassius Clay, at the time now known as Muhammad Ali, decided to go around looking for this potential crazy man or young boy who had the audacity to steal his bicycle. He finds nobody until at one point he actually runs into a gentleman by the name of Joe Martin, who was a police officer outside a building. So he turned to the police officer and said, "You know what, Mr. Police Officer, someone has stolen my bike. I'm looking for that boy. I'm looking for that person. Once I find him, I'm going to give him a beating that this person will never forget, because I'm going to be so mean with this person." Joe Martin, the police officer, just with his hands on his hips, he just looked at this young boy and listened to the boy, the way he was speaking, so articulate, and also the fire in his voice. The police officer said to himself, "My goodness, I've never seen a young man with so fiery as far as trying to actually do things right." As he said to the young boy, I know you're upset right now, but you know what? When you find that person who actually stole your bike, you will need to give them a good whooping. But the way I see things right now, it's not going to happen, because it's very obvious that you don't know how to fight. But what I can do for you, I can give you something, I can give you a chance to actually make things right. When you find that person, guess what? I'm the owner of this gym down in this basement that actually teaches people your age how to actually become boxers. Why don't you come and join my training camp so we can actually turn you into a fighter, so that when you find that person, you're going to give them what exactly they deserve. 1954. The next day, Muhammad Ali shows up, and the rest is history. So from 1954, 1955, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, he found himself in Rome like Abebe Bikila. Abebe Bikila was actually coming from Ethiopia to actually run the marathon. Muhammad Ali was coming from the United States as an 18-year-old to actually fight in the lightweight division as a boxer. The path never crossed, by the two were there to actually make history in their own different way. My goodness. He goes there. Four or five fights later, he actually beat and defeats every single opponent in his way, including the three-time lightweight champion from Europe. He defeats all of them. He gets the gold medal, and it goes back to America. In America, very quickly they realize that they have a potential with this young boy who's actually not just so amazing in the ring, but so articulate, so well-spoken. They said to themselves, "We have something we can actually use to actually market this place, this thing called the sweet science called boxing, and to turn it into a more profitable business. Why don't we use this young man to actually make this thing happen?" They start training Muhammad Ali to become the fighting machine it came to become. 1964, so basically 10 years later, he becomes the world heavyweight champion. 1964. 1967, unfortunately, war breaks in Vietnam, and Muhammad Ali, because of his refusal to actually be drafted, he found himself in a place where he's stripped of his medal. He's stripped of his championship. Is basically reduced to actually being a nobody. So from 1964 all the way to 1970, when his license was actually finally reinstated and got a chance to actually fight again, basically the man had to go through a period of actually finding a way to make a living as a speaker. And in 1970, when he reinstated, he has to fight his way all the way to the top again, until finally in 1974, he wins again the championship and becomes again crowned world heavyweight champion. But guess what happens? 1974 all the way to 1984, he is the king of the world, until basically around in the early 1980s, he started losing, and one thing leads to another, until 1984, when they finally found out that Muhammad Ali has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So basically, 20 years of his life that he devoted to boxing, to just making sure that the world will know that how great he was as a boxer, all of a sudden, things were taken away from him. He had to find a way to reinvent himself again. And being Muhammad Ali, instead of hiding from people, instead of hiding from the media, he found a way to remain in the limelight and keep talking to people, just to show people that, you know what, you can have this Parkinson's disease thing, but still be as well-spoken, and still be as brave, and still be as amazing and as entertaining and as brilliant as he was. All he does until 2016, when finally God decided it was time for him to actually go. But why am I telling you the story of Muhammad Ali? Because as far as it's concerned, if you look at his life very precisely, you're going to realize one thing, that his decision to get into boxing was something that seems, that was almost decided for him. He was not looking to actually become a boxer, but being a boxer was something that was actually given to him. And as this was given to him, within the calling of being a boxer, he found a calling within the calling. Within the calling, he found a calling to become the spokesperson for all the people who will always be voiceless until 1984. When 1984 came, and basically once again he had to shift and pivot to become something else, he found himself again the spokesperson for all the people who were suffering from this condition and basically were trying to figure out what they were going to do next. And he stayed in the limelight just to show the world that I can have this Parkinson's disease but still be the greatest man that the world has ever seen. Why am I telling you this story? Because within the calling that you have, or within the calling that you may have had before 2020, before this pandemic, you have to find a time and a space to actually look at within the calling to find another calling within the calling that you can actually embrace and help you pivot in what you're doing now to become the next Twitter in the world of business or the next Muhammad Ali in the world of sport and whatever field you find yourself in, because you know what? This season is all about pivoting. Without pivoting, without the ability to pivot, guess what, my friend? Unfortunately, it's not going to actually be well for you. And all I'm expecting right now for all of us is to find a way to just take this time on this Sunday or the next few days just to actually do a moment of introspection and just consider the calling that we had initially in our own field and try to figure out how we can discover a second calling within the calling. All right? I'm going to stop here right now. But before I go, three things I'm going to kindly ask you to do. Number one, please make sure you like this video. Number two, please make sure to share this video. Number three, please make sure also leave a comment in the comment section and just tell me where you are watching from and whatever you're actually working on and how I can be of any help as far as your process is concerned. All right? Thanks again for watching and looking forward to share more of you in the days to come. Until then, take good care and remember, the best is yet to come. All right? Love you so much and looking forward to sharing more with you in the days to come. Take good care.